So I finally made it happen. I got myself my very, very, very personal Grail computer, the Amiga 3000. A machine I learned to program in C on in just one night using VI and the Aztec C compiler back in 1991. Look at that. And it came with some stuff which we will take a look at right now. So let's start by taking a look at the add-ons. First, we have a brand new white Amiga mouse, which was kindly given to me because this machine lacks the pregnant mouse, which I still need, and I will get it eventually. It's the final piece of the puzzle, so yeah. I was also given one of these PS2 to Amiga mouse adapters, and I had to solder the connector and the capacitor, and it is soldered, so it's ready to go. 4 gig CF card. This thing has something in that so that it can use these cards. Some Amiga 3000 diagrams. Nice. One of Mr. John Chucky Hertel's LED boards, which you can populate with LEDs and different connectors for the different Amiga models, and then you can use this little board to plug it in, and if you are repairing or just error checking, some of the Amigas give you blinking signals, so you can use this board instead of connecting the original LEDs of the machine. Nice, thank you. We have an additional set of A3000 screws. Let me take these out. And according to the seller, these were specifically made from the original manufacturer of the A3000 screws. And I have two sets. One set is in the machine, or on the side of the machine. And yeah, I have one spare set, which is quite nice. And we have an IDE adapter for the smaller drives to the bigger drives. And we have what appears to be one of these discs on a module, which you put on a controller card, which is in here, and then this gives you the drivers. So yeah, good to have that. So that's all the additional stuff. I also prepared, this was not part of the deal, an IBM mouse, which looks a bit like that pregnant mouse with the darker buttons. And I can use my PS2 to Amiga adapter to just use it with this machine. So that should be good. Matches the color perfectly. So yeah, I will use this for the 3000 and this for my 1200, because this is the mouse the 1200 came with, if I'm not completely mistaken. At least the Ascom or Amiga branded 1200s. I got this keyboard, which I think the keys are retrobrited. They are way too shiny and white to be in original state, and if you look closely you can add some, check, see a bit of marbling. These here, these here. Let me switch on the lights. So if you look now, you can see the slightest marbling on these keys maybe. Thankfully, whoever did this paint job on the keyboard, which is now black and is already coming off on some places, did not paint over the Amiga logo, because I can just put some tape on here and then remove the paint as I did on the 1200, but with a different method that should preserve all the features of the keyboard and not like on the 1200 just flatten it out and rub out all the structure and stuff like that. It's a bit dusty, but it's okay. Yeah. Also, this is one of these KKQ E6096YC keyboards. Serial number is MT9003. I have an MT9020 something, which is my second A3000 keyboard, which is in the perfect right color. So I might actually switch that and use this keyboard with my Checkmate 1500, which I have over there, and use the one I have on my Checkmate with the A3000. So that is the keyboard, which works perfectly. Put it through its paces. It's all good. Which brings us to the main attraction, which is the Amiga 3000. It's the 25 megahertz model, and it has just one single drive and a slightly yellowed front cover here. Other than that, there are the screws, which have the color of the case. It's a bit rusty, or the color's gone here. I'm not too afraid about that because it's a used machine and it can have some scuffs. There's a keyboard connector and two joy ports. Let's take a look on the back side. So there's a serial number. It's a 4120. And this is a PAL model. It has all the switches and connectors you would expect, plus this CF card reader. The fan is stock and it's like a airplane turbine, so I will definitely change that. I have a Noctua fan which is coming in tomorrow, which should silence this down a lot. So a bit rust here, I will have to get to that. But other than that, the machine is in good condition. Let's open it up and take a look inside. So on the 3000 you just slide the cover to the front. Looks very clean from the inside. And here's this extender which pushes this button here of the power supply. That does not look stock, but I'll take it. So there's a power supply. Some of these thingies here, CF card reader. We have a Buddha flash, 20 anniversary card. And this is actually a Amiga board. So this is not the original board. The seller did solder this himself. We have a Seagate 80 gig hard drive in here. So I will clean this machine completely. Still have to disassemble it to get to the fan inside the power supply, which will be interesting. Yeah, so that's the first look at the machine. And the first thing I will do is I will go and retrobrite the front cover. This is this one. So that matches the rest. I will not retrobrite this, I will just clean it because there's some gunk here. But I will be very gentle with the brush. Just some soapy water to get this out. So I did clean the front and it came out really nice. Has some minor scratches up here, but can live with that. This is still a bit more yellow, so I will try to retrobrite this just to the same color like this, and this just clips into the drive bay here. So if you have an A3000 with two drives, you can just leave it out, else this just clips in here. You have these little yellow things which plug in from the back side, right here. And this is just screwed in by 5 screws to the front. And you have this button assembly here, which goes in here and is held in the case here. Yeah, so pretty happy with this. This looks awesome. Almost stock and brand new. It has really very, very little yellowing. You can, if the light is good, you can see here's a little bit of yellowing. That's all there is to this. And it looks from the inside just like it looks from the outside, so it's a pretty good indicator. Yes, I'm happy. So before I put this into the retrobriting box, I want to put this yellowed spacebar into there too. And yeah, I will do some experiments on how to remove the color here. I can use the underside. Since there already is some color moving off here, I'm pretty sure I can do this with some there were some suggestions on my 1200 video where I completely removed the chrome color by scraping off the color with sandpaper or sandpaper sponge, and that smoothed it out nicely. But I don't want this for this keyboard. I just want to remove the paint, and I don't want to kill the plastic. So there were some suggestions, and I will try oven cleaner first. I will put some here and see what happens. But first let's take off the spacebar and put that with this into the retrobriting box. So I will have to take some of these keys off to get a good grip on this. And these are not just the normal Amiga keys. They have these suction cups here, and that gives them this distinct moment of actuating, maybe. So these feel much better than the standard Amiga keys, which are a bit mushy. Let's see if we can lift. Yep, we can. There's just one. Wow, very, very yellowed of these things. Look at the difference. In Germany we have potato chips. They're called Ringli. They are those round chips with paprika, and this looks almost like that. I'm tempted to eat it. There are two of these little springs here, just like on the 500 or the 1200 keyboard, and there is this metal stabilizer bar here. It looks okay from here. Still different color because these are bleached. And that is, yeah, you can see how it should have been. It should be the original key color. And I know this look because I have a mouse which is equally whitened, which happens if you leave it too long in the retrobriting box. Let me quickly clean this, and then we can put some peroxide on and put it in the bleach box. Okay, things are prepared. Peroxide and some plastic foil, and here's a cover, which is just some UV light LED strips, which I will simply put on top and plug in, and then leave it for let's say 24 hours and see what happens. Okay, since this is the stuff I have readily available, let's try the oven and grill cleaner. It's from DM, which is a drugstore chain here in Germany. Yeah, you can get this pretty much in every bigger and smaller city. So it says to leave it for at least 1 or 2 hours and then just try to wipe it away, which is for rust and stuff. So yeah, shake it. Let's try just a little spot. What happens after 1 or 2 hours of just letting it sit there? I hope it doesn't, like an alien, just go through the plastic into the keyboard, through the table to my neighbors. So yeah, let's see. Okay, so I did let this oven cleaner sit for a few hours, and actually now I can take off some of the color. Let's try one of these wet baby wipes. It does take some of the color off. You can see there's a little difference. But we are not in the white yet, so this could work, but I doubt that it will on a scale which I need, which is the whole keyboard on the other side. So yeah, so that is not the way to go. So I will have to order some paint remover and try that. It's about 20 hours later, and I have retrobrited this to pretty much perfectly color match the rest of the case, which is nice. So let's put this back in. Yeah, that looks perfect. Meanwhile, I went and put some, it's not what you think, it's peroxide cream, and I think I try this. You can see here's the alcohol version or the IPA version, which didn't work out too well. Not too concerned about the underside, because I can just, in the worst case scenario, I would just go and sandpaper it down again, and then it's all good. So I can test this. I will leave this for a few more minutes, and then we will see what happens. Yeah, so far no luck. So my experiments continue. So there's no paint remover, obviously, that is able to get the paint off without smoothing the plastic. So I now have a very smooth spot here, and I did use nitro thinner, and yeah, it stinks a lot. It's very unhealthy, and this is the result so far. So I think I'm back to square one, and I will go and I will just scrap it off with some sandpaper and see what goes, and see if I can leave the structure. I will not use any more of these acetone or thinner stuff, and yeah, let's see. So I don't know which kind of paint this person used, but this is after minutes of scrubbing. So this is a very different paint job from the one on the A1200. I have no chance removing this by hand. I will just leave it black, because it looks better in black than probably anything I can come up with. Maybe someday I will just sand it a little and give it a new paint job in the original color. But for now, I will not, because this is just crazy. So I put the keyboard back together, and that is how it is now. Space key is still missing, still in the retrobriting box. Has to be very, very light. Touched up some of the black spaces where the original color was shining through. So this is how this is now. Moving on to the next item, which is the replacement fan, which just came in, which is a Noctua NF-A8 ULN 80mm premium fan, and this thing is super silent. It's made in Austria, which is a next door neighbor of us Germans here. Cost me 15 euros, which amounts to about $15 or $16. You get a nice letter from Mr. Roland Mosig, who is a Noctua CEO. Thank you. And you get the main attraction, which is the fan, which is a 12-volt fan, which is the same as in the Amiga. This is a 3-pin connector, so we have to use only these two. The black is ground, the red is 12 volts, and the yellow one is the sensor for the fan. So this fan actually tells your machine how fast it is spinning. And there are some auxiliary things like this adapter, so you can get the 12 volts from here. And maybe we even use this because this is already 2-pin and it just ignores the sensor. And if you put it in a machine, you can even reduce the noise further by using this adapter here, which has, I think, just a resistor in the middle here. We have screws, which we won't use, and we have these rubber thingies. And these are standoffs, and you pretty much just pull them through the case and the fan, and this will give you some insulation between, or some insulation, I don't know, some distance, rubbery distance, let's call it that, between the case and the fan, and so if it's moving, it doesn't rattle the case, which is good. Yeah, so let's disassemble the A3000, which I'm not looking forward to tell you the truth, and let's put that fan into the power supply. But maybe first let me show you how loud this thing really is. Okay, so let's start the engine. So I will put the microphone here. And that is the sound of the Amiga. And should boot. Yeah, hard disk is rattling, and here we are. Yeah, so this is pretty much the machine. Let's try sysinfo, because why not? Speed. And we have a 1.02 times A3000. Who would have thought? Clock, ECS Agnes to Mac, and memory wise we have 8 megs in total here and 2 megs of chip RAM. Yeah, so that is the Amiga running. Let's see, it's doing its thing. So let's open it up and switch out the fan. So I strapped in, and it seems like there could be an easier way. I don't have to disassemble the whole machine, but I could probably get this power supply out without disassembling the whole machine, which would be good. So cable wise, we have this here, which is just lying here, but it's connected to the disk drive. We have this here, which is connected to the hard drive. We have this here, which is connected to the CF adapter over there. So I just have to unplug this one and the mainboard connector. I should be good to go and pull this out if all these screws actually just hold in this power supply, which would be really good. Okay, so that is free now, and now we should be able to just unscrew this. There are different screws in here, a few Phillips heads, and a few flat heads. So let's start with the Phillips heads. Not quite sure why there are all these different screws here. This should lift straight out now. Okay, so the fan is actually sitting in the board, so I have to, maybe I remove the fan grill here, like this. Aha, okay, now we have it. Okay. Let's see here, this groove which sat in here, so you couldn't just pull it out. The fan grill was stuck to the metal here. Oh, that is nice and crusty. Okay, so whatever you do, don't ever open a power supply like I'm about to do now, because these things have some punch to them, and if you don't take care, you will get zapped, which is not cool. Here's one. Thank God, these are all the same screws. Okay, there we go. That was easy. So here's our very crusty fan. And whoa, that is really dirty. So the first thing to do is to find out which one is ground. I assume that the blue one is ground. And I should have probably checked. I think it was that way. Which way this fan is running actually. So we want this to blow out the heat, I think. Let's plug it back in. Take a look. So never ever do what I'm about to do, which is to plug in an open power supply, which is a bad idea. So we are pushing air outside. Good to know. So now this power supply definitely has some juice in it. So don't ever touch these big caps over there. Okay, got that. I can put this away. And we have this fan, which should size-wise, yeah, matches perfectly. I assume that since this one is that way around, pushing air, this one should be the same. And according to those fans, it actually really should, because the fans are the same way. So we cannot just plug this in here. We have to build an adapter. I think we will take this cable here from this fan. Just grab a length like this and cut the cable here, or the connector, and go from there. Or we could just use this adapter cable here, put that in here, and then cut that. It would leave this intact, which is, I guess, the better idea. So let's just cut them like this. And there we have our cable. We'll cut this a little more wiggle room here, like this. So the yellow cable, which is on the right side here, is just left inside, which is good because we don't need it. So let's first cut some length of cable here. Shouldn't be too long because we have to get all this cable in there somehow. So we'll just cut right here. And now we have to determine which side is ground and which is VCC. For that we take the multimeter, put it in continuity mode, and just check. As you can see, the case is grounded and blue is ground, and this is very much VCC, I think. Good, as I thought. So we have to connect the red wires and the blue and the black. Even put this over there, and all is good. Nice. So Next up, we put the fan back in. Ooh, it's so shiny. I think I'm going to use the screws then, because this is not going to hold. That works. And since there's rubber here, I think we are good. Okay, new fan is in. Let's see if it actually works. Yep, doesn't seem like it. Nice. Okay, so that was totally worth it. Let me put this back together without zapping myself, hopefully. And we take it from there. Let's give it a final test. It still works, which would be nice. Yep, works great. It's really pushing air. So the motherboard is sitting very loose in here. I don't know if this is not screwed down. Take a look, because I don't like the sound of that. But I have to remove this whole cage here, it seems. It seems we are going to disassemble the whole machine. Yay! Now we can leave this in. This is another drive cage. Let me see here. That just slips out. This whole assembly here, which is held in by another screw, which I think, oh, man. So this screw released the drive, disk drive, which is good. Let's just pull this out of here. We have a screw here. That frees that. And then we have, I think, a final screw over here. Yeah, and that lifts out. Okay. So now we can finally take a closer look. So this is Davut's handiwork. And it has a screw here. There's no screw there. No screw there. So I am going to put that in, and this is an Amiga 3000 Rev 9.9 RC1, and it's the Amiga board. Okay, so the wobbly board is fixed now, so we are nearing the final minute of this auction, and I just realized that this mouse is a 3-button mouse. I never had that in my mind. I always thought there are only 2-button mice on the Amiga, so my IBM mouse doesn't quite keep up here. So how do I go about bidding on that mouse? I usually wait until the last minute, because most people bid in the last minute. And then I go and I put in my final offer, which in this case is, let's say, $131.99, and then I say check offer, and then I wait until time's up, almost, let's say about 5 seconds or so, and then I hit bid. And yeah, that is my surefire way in most auctions to win. And I always choose some crude numbers, a little bit or a little less than I want to bid on. So I would give 125. So this is actually my thing here. And now I say do it. And sometimes I already, so I have no idea if I won or not. Just, no. I put in the 150. That is a good price. 143 is a good price for that mouse, which usually goes for 250. Yeah, so you can't win every auction. 150, well, or 143, good price, good price. Had to put the spacebar back into the bleach box because still wasn't white enough. But I decided to put this on here and to cover the white Amiga logo or beige Amiga logo, which was still here. So now this looks at least complete and not like something unfinished. Put some electrical tape over here, which you can barely make out if you watch from the top, and put that sticker here. So it's removable, the logo is still untouched under there. Much better. So here's my Checkmate 1500, and as you can see, I now have that black keyboard with a slightly more yellowed, but much less yellowed than before space key on my Checkmate 1500, and I put the black mouse from my black Amiga to this, so that actually looks okay. And I got some questions where I got this monitor from. The standard VGA monitor, which I just painted in just exactly the same color as the Checkmate 1500 is. And this was, I think, black before. Let's check from the back side, because I left a few spots. Yeah, you can see there, that is the original color. And I think that came out really nicely, and it matches perfectly. And I have these white Amiga stickers there, and that makes it even more interesting. So yeah, that is where my keyboard, my beige keyboard, came from. So here's the 3000, and I put a VGA monitor on top. By the way, you may have noticed there's a different keyboard now that matches the color pretty much exactly. And that is because I exchanged the keyboards, or changed the keyboard. I had one of these 3000 keyboards. You might have seen it in my Amiga 2000 video, or in my video about the Checkmate 1500. Here's the IBM mouse, which I think matches pretty nicely. And I have this little adapter over there wrapped in black tape, which uses that PS2 mouse. And since we are here, let's do something meaningful. And back in the day, and the whole reason why I got this machine is that I learned programming C on this machine in just one night. And I was taught on VI as the editor, and with the Aztec C, I think it was 5.0a, just the version which is available on the internet. And I made 4 disks, I installed it, and now we're going to switch on the Amiga, and we are going to try and do a Hello World program, because I haven't done C programming in a while. And I actually wrote a book about C programming. Let me show you. So in 1996 I wrote 3 books. The first is Programming in C, the second is Programming in C++, and the third is Internet Programming with Java. And Java was brand new. This was, as far as I know, the first book on Java in the European or German market. And yeah, these books, or at least the first one, came about as pretty much a collection of papers I did for a class which I taught in university on C programming. And I had all these chapters, and I contacted these guys, Haslev Hanstich, of RabbitSoft, and they were the publishers of these books, and they were in contact with Addison Wesley and with Econ, which Addison Wesley may ring a bell. Econ was a big publisher for like novels and stuff like that. And I told them, hey, I have all these chapters for a book, can I do a book? And they said, yeah, sure. And I did, and then it took me 4 weeks to get to this book. And then they said, hey, can you do a book on C++? And of course I can. Took me another, I guess, 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Had to write this from scratch because I didn't have any material on it. And when I was finished, there was something called Oak, and that was what would later become Java. And I was very fortunate to be in contact with people from Sun who were working on that. And so I set out and told them, hey, there's something new coming, which is called Java, and you should really keep an eye on that. And why don't you let me make the first book? And back in the day, Java was mainly used to program little apps that could run in a browser like Netscape. And so I did this Java book. And yeah, the structure of the books is pretty much the same. So yeah, these are my books, but I have not programmed in C since, I think, 1996, maybe 1998. But I switched to Java. I became the Java guy. I worked for IBM because I was a Java guy, and IBM was big in Java or on Java back in the day. And yeah, that is my programming story. So getting back to C, or this is how this all started on this Amiga 3000, which was a friend's Amiga, which he brought over to teach me in one night how to program in C. I was a GFA basic guy. I was very good and very fluent in basic, but I wasn't good in anything else. So he taught me C in a night, and I'm eternally grateful for this because it opened a whole new world for me. And yeah, in the end, all my jobs I had as a programmer or as a project manager, I owe to this one night on this Amiga 3000, not this specific Amiga 3000, but on an Amiga 3000 and learning C. So let's bring some of that magic back and let's try to use the Aztec C. The manuals that are available on the internet are, I think, for the 3.6 version. And I will put a link in the description below there in the Internet Archive. And you can download the Aztec C 5.0 from some website. Let's say it like this. Okay, let's fire up the Amiga 3000 and I will just film the screen. So the Amiga is booting and there we are. So I did install the Aztec compiler on my work drive. I have the folder called Aztec and there's lots of stuff in here. And what we want to do is two things. First, we want to write a little program, and I hope I can remember a little Hello World program. Otherwise, I have my own book, which I'm sure has a little Hello World program, and that should pretty much run the same on the Amiga. So let's first create some file. So I think I will be going to use Emacs for that. You have Emacs in your tools folder on your Workbench install. And here we have to type on the side, which is a bit harder. We include the standard I/O library, which gives us the ability to print on the screen. And we have a main function, which is the entry point for the program. So that's where it all starts. And we have the curly brackets on the numpad. And then we do printf. Oops. Hello world. Like that. And then we save. Let's see, save as file. Write file. Yes, please. And we save this to work, and then hello.c. No idea if I can find it. Should be on the work drive now. And here's our Hello C program. Maybe let's put this in some kind of working folder. So we're going to make a new folder and we call this cproc, and we put our hello.c in there. we have our program. Now we need to find out how to start the compiler. And for that we go and open a shell. Do we have a shell somewhere? We do. In system there's shell. And if we do a dir, we get the workbench drive, and to change the drive we just type the drive name and a colon, and there we are. And I'm not sure, no, we can't do an ls here, it's not Unix. Okay, but we know there's a folder called Aztec, and now we are in the folder of the compiler, and in the bin directory, as you can see, the names are not case sensitive like in Unix. There are all the commands, and if I type cc, that is the compiler, and you can see it's Aztec version 5.AA from January 9th of 1990. According to the documentation, and I didn't do that yet, I just installed the Aztec C compiler, we have to put some stuff into the startup file. And there's a file called startup sequence, and that resides in the S folder, which you can see here. And there's a C folder. Where's the S folder? Let me see. Let's bring this to the front. There's the S folder, and there should be startup sequence. There it is. So I think we are going to use the Emacs again. Let me check. How can we open a file? Read file. S, and then it's start up sequence. Hey, that is. Nice. Okay. And what we have to do is we have to, let's say here, to add some stuff to, like in Windows or DOS, the path, so that we can use CC from everywhere and don't have to be in the Aztec bin folder. And we have to set some environment variables so that the compiler knows where the standard library is and stuff like that, which we need to actually create a program out of our program. And what we will get is we will compile the C program and we will get an object file. And that object file is pretty much the assembler code for some library calls. And then we have to link this library, which is a so-called standard library, which comes with the compiler, with our code, so that the calls inside the object code can actually call the right program. Then this is linked together with a linker, the object code of our program in the library, and then we get the final executable, and we can use that. So what we have to do is we have to add a path, and we do this by path add, or just, yeah, let's do path add. I think that is how not to kill everything. And we are on work Aztec bin. So we want to add that path so we can access all the stuff inside there. And then we want to set some variables, and for that we have to call work Aztec I think bin, and the command is set, and that is a problem. If you don't add the whole path in front of here, you use the standard set command, and that won't work, because this set command sets compiler specific stuff and the usual set command does something else. So we have to set cctemp to the RAM disk. So during compilation, all the stuff it's doing on RAM, in the RAM disk, because we have RAM enough, and we have to do work Aztec bin set. I think it's clip, and that is work Aztec lib. Not sure if we have to use these. Work Aztec bin set include, which tells the thing where the include is. So this tells it where the standard library is. This tells it where the includes are, and they are at work Aztec, I think include. It's a pretty good guess. Yeah, and that should pretty much do the trick. So let's save that. And I think we have to reboot for that. So, and we can simply test that. If we open the shell, just type cc. Yeah, works. So at least we have our path set correctly. So we can now call the compiler from everywhere, pretty much. And we go to work, and there we go to, what was the name, cproc. Yep. And if we type cc hello.c, oh, it needs a RAM disk. Okay, so it seems RAM is not RAM. Ah, no, it's called RAM disk, which is a pity. Okay, so our set commands work because it tries to use the RAM disk. So let's go and fix that. Not sure if this just works like that. Let's try. Okay, we are back, and here's a neat trick. You can just pull this over here, and that doesn't copy the program from here to here, what you would expect. It just copies the icon and it's like an alias. And if you want to put it back, you can just go here and say zurücklegen or put back, and it's back here. So let's put this here. Maybe let's also put Emacs there. Okay, so we are at work, and we are at cproc. And here we are. Okay, should be there. Oh, open failure on include file. Let's try. Work Aztec include. That doesn't work. Let's check our sure there's a better way to do this than always typing this, but for now using shift and arrow key down I can at least page a little. Let me try this, because this is how it is in the manual. Pretty sure that's wrong. Let's try it anyway. If you use Workbench as background, you can actually remove the window. And I did, of course, forget to freeze this, so I can do this all again. So let's happily try again. So CC works. So here's a problem. It seems to create the temporary file here and not here. So maybe we just create a folder here and we will create a temp file or temp directory inside the Aztec folder. Oh no, we will create one in the work directly. Like this. There it is. And that will be our temporary folder. So yeah, and we set this temp to work/temp. This. That should do the trick, I hope. Let's reboot. Hey, where's my... It's gone already. And again. So let's... here's my Emacs. Okay. So let's try this again. Where's my... Oh, there it is. Work. cproc. cc test.c. cc hello.c. That looks good. No news is good news. Let's see. And there we have our .o file. Nice, so that worked. So we have set our variables and now we should link all this. So that should work like ln, and then we have hello.o. We want to link our o file, which is our object file. And yeah, undefined symbol, printf, begin. Okay, so I think we have to tell him which library still. And we want to use work Aztec lib and the C standard library. Oh, that worked. It did link. Let's see. And we have hello. And if we type hello, we have hello world. Yeah, I forgot to put a \n in the end so that we get a carriage return. Yay. We made a hello world program. Awesome. So this thing seems to work. I'm pretty happy. Still not sure why all my icons are gone again. So if anybody with Amiga knowledge knows what the I'm doing wrong, please tell me. Please tell me. Yeah, so that is Aztec C. I will put links for the disks and disk images and the manuals in the description below. Maybe I will do a follow-up. If you like to see a follow-up on programming C on the Amiga, let me know, because that would be pretty interesting. Good. Thanks for watching, and as always, goodbye.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.